so one thing I'm sure a lot of people that are gonna listen to this probably, you know, are wondering is, so you hit a milestone, right? The $72,000 in it was in a single day, you said, right?
Yeah, one day.
In one day, 72 grand. Which I mean, that's incredible. I mean, some people don't even hit that, you know, starting off, like, you know, even in a year. So that's impressive. So and you did this during a global pandemic, right? So I think that's pretty impressive. I think some people are wondering, like, how did he do this with like all this crisis and COVID? So how did you get around this? I mean, did it not affect your business or?
So in the beginning of the pandemic, like around April or March, March or April, it kind of did, right? Like we saw definitely like sales go down a little bit, you know, like a lot, like I think the first couple of weeks of March, like we saw like not too many calls come in, right? So I was getting a little worried, and I started feeling like, you know, I started feeling a little scared, a little nervous, you know. So that's when I spoke to our boy Enrique, and I was like, hey, this is going on, and he gave me some advice that I'm pretty much always gonna remember, because it's the advice that I kept on doing, right? He says, don't retreat. There's a lot of companies that are gonna retreat in their marketing, so don't do it. You know, like, or if you're gonna cut some costs, figure out ways to expand in other areas of your marketing. That way you can continue. That way you don't lose money. You know, because but if you feel like you have to retreat, do it. You know, but like, don't don't kind of like, you know, don't just retreat just because you think everything's gonna go bad. You know. So then I spoke to my best friend who is the paid advertising guy. And like, you know, he was like, dude, it's only been 2 weeks. Yes, sales have gone down, but like he also told me, he's like, don't do anything yet. If you want, I can lower ad spend, you know, because right, like I think we're spending about $600 a day on marketing, on just Google paid ads. So he's like, hey, I can cut it down to 500 and see what happens. So he cut it down to 500, and you know, like I was like, all right, I'll wait a week. Then nothing. You know, sales kept on like, you know, going down little by little. Then I waited another week, and I was like, all right, if after this week nothing happens, I'm gonna cut it down more. So then all of a sudden, like we just started getting calls. Like we started getting calls, and my guys started doing sales. And of course, I kept on motivating my guys. He was like, hey guys, like, you know, we know like, and this is where we're all working from home. We're already working from home at this point. Like, hey guys, you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Please help me out. So I was very honest with them. I'm like, please help me out, because we don't know what's gonna happen. You know, like I'm very grateful, and I was very grateful. Like, you know, I'm very grateful that you guys are on my team. But please help me help you. You know, like help me. That way we can all keep our jobs, including myself. You know, and I think that just kind of motivated them. Like, you know, because I would not like Juan from like 5 to 6 years ago will probably never say that, but Juan from today, obviously this, you know, like obviously did. So, and I think that just kind of motivated, you know, people. And my mindset at that point was like, hey, let me help out my clients. You know, how can I give the most value to my clients? You know, helping them out, I guess with either mindset or sales, you know, because I know my clients, auto repair shop owners, are going through it as well. You know, they're losing money because they had to close down shops, you know. So let me, you know, I did a webinar with another friend of mine who's also a marketing guy, who kind of, you know, went through like, hey, what can you do in order to survive and thrive during this pandemic, you know. So I guess my clients appreciated that. And I wrote a couple of, like, you know, some email marketing campaigns where I was, you know, where I kind of like was very grateful to everyone. And I was like, hey guys, like, you know, hey guys, give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. So yeah, so going back, like, yeah, so I wrote some email marketing, some emails to all my clients, you know, through my email marketing software. By the way, if you have an e-commerce site, email marketing is the way to go.
Are you using something
another,
specific? Are you using something
yeah,
specific that you can share with us?
yeah, I use a software called Klaviyo, which works extremely well for e-commerce sites. I mean, every marketing software is good, but I personally like Klaviyo because it's tailored more to e-commerce. I used to use MailChimp, which was good too. Then another an email marketing specialist that I work with told me, he's like, hey, look at Klaviyo. So I started looking at Klaviyo, and I think it's all about what kind of stuff you send out, through your email marketing, because everybody sends the same thing. Hey, these are my products, buy them, you know. But I think
What
if you mix it up a little bit, I think you're gonna have better results.
this Klaviyo, it's also collecting the leads, or it's
Collecting emails, yeah. So basically, you can collect emails through different ways. Obviously, through like a little when a client goes to your site, or when somebody goes to your site, this I have like a little pop-up, window which says, "Hey, thank you for coming to the site. Here's a coupon code. Please sign up so you can get it." And of course, like one of the tricks I use is once they sign up to my email marketing campaigns through Klaviyo, I have an automated email flow which sends out like, "Hey, thank you for signing up to our site. Here's your 5% coupon code," right? And Klaviyo is smart enough, like it's a smart system where if the client doesn't buy from that first email, it automatically sends them a second email like 4 or 5 days later saying like, "Hey, thank you for signing up. It's been 4 to 5 days. You haven't bought anything. Here's your coupon code again. Just reminder, like, it's gonna expire within a week." And then I send them out a last one like, "Hey, tomorrow this coupon code is going to expire." So obviously kind of gives you a deadline or a timeline of when the client has to buy. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's good. Other things, for example, for email marketing, something that's extremely useful is it's the abandoned cart flow, right? So somebody, and this happens all the time, where somebody goes to your site and they're about to buy something, just like you saw, your kid runs in and distracts you, and then you kind of like just navigate away to the site, and you kind of totally forget about buying it, right? So I have an email flow, and well, most email marketing companies have it. It's an email flow where they send out an email saying, "Hey, thank you for coming to our site. You almost bought this item, but here's a link so you can go back to the cart and buy and continue buying." So it's a couple of tricks of the trade, and just like those flows, a lot of different flows that even Klaviyo will show you to use. That once you log in. So going back to the question that you asked, like what about the pandemic and everything, right? Yeah, so I sent out some emails, some personal and I guess heartfelt emails telling people, "Hey, we're all going to get through it together," which was really what I felt at the time. I was like, "Hey, man, we're a community of people. You guys are part of the JMC family," which is what I call my clients. If you guys need anything, let me know, and I'm here for you. And hey, these are some of the things that you can do in order to get through it. I started doing research on how to even calm anxiety. Like, hey, this is a video that I found that that you can meditate, and like kind of just completely out of the automotive world. And I got a lot of good responses from that. Like people just saying, "Hey, thank you very much. Thank you for sending these type of emails." And even like about 2 months after I sent out the last email, like the last personal email that I sent out to everyone, I actually had to call a client, right? Which to cancel or like a product that he had bought because it's in back order, because this whole thing was going on, so they couldn't get the product, the material to make that product. So I had to call him up and say, "Hey, Mr. Klein, how you doing? This is Juan from JMC. Just to say I'm sorry, but like your product is not going to be available for the next 2 or 3 months because of everything going on." He's like, "Hey, this is Juan." "Yeah, this is Juan. Like, hey, man, I want to tell you, thank you for all those emails that you sent out at the beginning of the pandemic. Like, they really helped me out. Even though I had never bought anything from your site, I was a part of your email list. And those emails really helped me get through the day with what you said and how you said it. So it was just like they were very genuine emails. So I think using those type of tactics and those strategies, which weren't even strategies, is something that I just kind of wanted to do. Like I said, giving value to the client, really being sincere and honest, and not just trying to make money. Like, hey, I want to do this for my clients because they've been with me for a long time. I guess put me apart, from everybody else. That everybody else is kind of just trying to make a dollar. And I think that's how I was able to, like, and obviously doing different things. I think that's how I was able to reach those milestones that I'm achieving now, through a pandemic.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's funny because I did a whole webinar, and basically the speaker touched on like every single point that you just mentioned right now of how to survive and actually thrive during the pandemic. And it's like check, check, check. Everything that he had mentioned, pretty much he mentioned. The only one thing I didn't hear though, did you offer any kind of like special product offerings, any sort of bundles, discounts, anything on that end, or for example, like they had given an example of, if you buy, X amount of product, commit to it for a year, then even though you're paying more, he gives you like a really big discount, like a 40% off, 30% off, just to kind of keep that money coming in. And then get some money coming in like right now to not have to, have your sales dwindle. Did you do any kind of packages or bundles or discounts like that?
Just the regular. I mean, the thing is, like, in the beginning, I didn't want to do that because I was like, hey, I don't want to force my clients to buy, and like, anything that at this point they may not even try to buy. So I don't want to be seen as that guy where I'm like, hey, there's a pandemic going on, I'm gonna give you a discount. You know, I kind of just offered the same discounts that I was giving before. He's like,
Okay.
hey guys, if you're looking to buy anything during this pandemic, which I know you may not, and this is, I think, exactly my words. Here's the same coupon code that we give. Here you go. Let me know. But that was like a minor point of the email, because it was like a big paragraph or a big couple of paragraphs saying, hey, we're all gonna get through it together. I got your back. I know you got my back. This is my personal number. If you need to call me, call me. Like, even if you just wanna, if you wanna call me to cry, if you wanna call me to let everything out, or if you want to hear just a positive message, call me. One of the quotes that I really, really like is, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. So obviously you got to dream big, man, like you just said, like, and even if you don't achieve what you're dreaming about, what you're going after, you're still doing what you want to do. You're still pursuing your dream. So unless you decide to quit, then you're gonna continue going after your dream, and eventually you'll reach it, man. Like, I mean, who knew that I would become what I became today? I didn't know that I was gonna do this. All I knew is, hey, let me help out my father, let me expand the family business, and let me enjoy the ride, pretty
Mm.
much, right? So that's what I
What
did,
makes
and yep,
yeah.
and I kept on pushing. But
What makes you move? What is the thing that makes you move? Makes you like push
um,
harder? What's your motivation? Your drive?
I think what I found out about myself is that I just like to create. Oh, can you guys hear me? Yeah, I think I just like to create
Mm.
new things. So I'm never satisfied, and I get bored pretty easily, I
Mm.
think. So I always want to continue doing things, continue getting better, continue growing different companies, starting different companies. So that's why I think I started so many companies. Like, and to say the least, like, and not to brag, but they're pretty successful in their own industries, right? Um, and I think, like, I guess I just don't want to have any regrets when in my deathbed. So I want to do everything I can right now that I have the energy, that I have the capability to do it. That way, when I'm old and, like, I'm like, it's like, yo, I did everything I wanted to do. Even if I failed at what I was doing, I did it. And I always like a challenge. For example, hey, I want to do a triathlon. I mean, I was training very, very hard to do a triathlon, for a triathlon that I wanted to do at the end of this year. But of course, the pandemic kind of stopped that. But like, that's the type of person I am. Like, I see a challenge and I go after it because I guess that's just what I want to do.